Welcome to another episode of the Cooking and Coach podcast. I'm Beza. I'm the coach.
And I'm Kenny. I'm the cook. Welcome, everybody. We have some awesome guests today. Super excited about it. This will be great.
Yes, I'm very, very excited. We are running behind, so we're going to get these segments out of the way quick, and then we will get right into our main topic for today. So, Kenny, you want to start off?
Cool. Yeah, for sure. So for today, I have a couple quick food segments. So the main one is just a recommendation for some apps you can use for food and when you're just putting together recipes and stuff. There's two websites/apps that you can use when you're trying to organize your recipes and just keep track of everything. I have used Pepperplate in the past. It's a free app that you can download onto Android, iPhone. They have a website too. And they're pretty solid. You can use it as kind of just like a library for your recipes, and you can type in new stuff. But I've found that some of their features aren't terrific. So if you want to find a really great app, the one you should get is called Paprika 3. It costs a little bit of money, but it is terrific. I have it on my phone right now. It's kind of hard to see on the screen, but it's like a red app with like a paprika box, and it's amazing. You can sync it up to your computer, your tablet, your phone. It all syncs up. You can search recipes on Google and just say like, add this recipe to my recipe box or whatever, and it just imports everything perfectly. They have all sorts of like shopping cart features and stuff. This isn't an ad, by the way. This is just me recommending a great app that I like. But yeah,
they should sponsor us.
it should be. Paprika, you guys should sponsor us. But yeah, so I'd recommend Pepperplate if you're on a budget and just starting to learn about tracking your recipes and such. But Paprika is really the one to go for if you can. Also, some recipes that you can add, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, this finally came in the mail. The Bon Appetit cover with
nice
food from the food truck. Yeah. So this finally came in the mail, but you can still get recipes on their website. I don't know if I can find this at the moment, the recipes we have in here. Oh, here we go.
Wait, what's the website?
Well, the website is bonappetit.com, and you can get, I think, 5 or 6 recipes on there. And yeah, they're all in the magazine, but you can also get them for free. So literally, if you use Paprika and go to those recipes, you can add them right into your Paprika app, and you'll be set to go. So yeah, check it out. That'll be, for me, it's a super helpful tool. So I would definitely recommend it to other people too.
Right on. Coaching segment, really quick. So today our main topic, which we'll be discussing with a few friends of ours in a few minutes here. The Jordan doc, right? Everyone watched it. Everyone loved it. Super entertaining. For me, it was really interesting to hear Jordan's trainer talk in interviews throughout the series, and then also hear Jordan talk about weight training and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's not so much of a, specific thing for today, but it's like the Jordan doc kind of like reignited a fire in me where it's like you saw how like maniacal and how crazy Jordan was in his work ethic,
Totally.
both on the court, but also in the weight room too, his nutrition and the way he took care of his body.
Yep.
So I think just to keep it short and simple, guys, if you want something, if you want to reach a goal, if you want to accomplish something, go out there, get that shit done. All right. I actually had a huge PR today in the weight room. So
nice. What was the PR you got?
Watching Jordan, that kind of lit fire me.
So
my best squat ever, right? That was like a couple months ago. I got that, and so I got 500 for 5.
Wow.
That's like,
dude.
I was only planning to do it for 3 times. I was only planning to get 3 reps, but I had 5 in me, and
that's wild.
I shocked myself. Let's just say that.
That's crazy, dude. Proud of you. That's so cool. 505 times. It's insane.
Yeah. So I'll be posting on Instagram tomorrow. But yeah, guys, put in the work. No one cares. No one's gonna care. Just work harder because no one cares. So you gotta work hard for yourself. That's all I gotta say for today. Jordan's the GOAT. If you want to be great, go be great. I remember end of episode 7. He was like on the verge of tears. He's like, I did what I had to do because I wanted to win. And if you're criticizing me, that means you never won anything in life, right?
Yeah.
And he says, if you want to play that way, I'll play that way. but I'm the GOAT because I did that. So, I mean, it's just a reminder, you know, go and get that shit. That's all I gotta say.
Hell yeah. Love it. Let's intro the guests, huh? Excited for this.
Guys, our guests for today, they're good friends of ours. You already met two of them earlier, Jesse and Miske, back in the pod to talk about the Jordan doc. We also have our other roommate from college, Wando. He's big into basketball, played basketball at Bethel when I went to school with him. Also has his own sports column that he writes in, so we'll be getting his takes on that too. So, yeah, here's our discussion about the Last Dance.
How you guys doing? Chilling?
Doing good. Happy to go a 4-time club.
Right.
Yeah, me and Miske were talking about how we're a package deal, apparently.
It's true.
Yeah, honestly, though.
And I'm just not in a package. I get it.
No, you're part of it, man. Dude, this will be good.
You're totally part of it, dude.
Yeah, no. For sure, dude. No, for sure. This is
Wando.
What?
For our listeners, for our guests, can you explain to them who you are, what you do, your interest in basketball, your history with basketball, all that good stuff?
Well, I'm your college roommate, regrettably so. And yeah, played basketball, obviously, and then played a year at Bethel, coached for a couple of years at Bethel, and coached high school. So, you know, that's about my basketball expertise. Is an avid basketball fan. That's about it.
Nice. What positions did you play?
Miske. I was a guard. I could only shoot threes. That was my only skill.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
If you called it a skill.
We'll call it a skill.
Why so close to the camera? You're like this. You're like an 80-year-old man, like trying to figure out technology for the first time.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Because it's just sitting on the kitchen table. I don't know where to put it. Should I back it up? Is that better?
Whatever.
I mean, it just seems like an awkward position to be like this. You're just like this the whole time. I don't know.
Physically, I'm not any different. It's just how you see me, I guess. But whatever.
That's true. You have a concave chest. Remember that from college. You have a concave
you
chest.
Can see my widow's peak and my hair that's been the same for 25 years, pretty much.
That's awesome. Jess, I see you're called former Chicago resident.
That's what I was laughing at, by the way.
Yep.
That was the funniest thing in the entire back.
I was there for from 94 to 96. So the years Jordan wasn't there, I was big on the town.
Wow.
So I have a lot of expertise to bring to the table with that one.
You have
wow,
deep ties. That's awesome. I binged the whole show like this week. I watched 5 episodes last night and 3 of them this morning. And so my brain is shot.
Well, strap in because they're making another one right now.
They're making another season?
episode.
No, they're making like one more. They're making one more up right now. They're like editing it. It'll be out in a few weeks.
Oh, really?
Are you talking about the Game 6 episode thing they're doing?
I don't know if it's Game 6, but I know they're doing like a bonus episode right now. They're making it right now.
So they're going.
I've been hearing about Game 6, the movie, or something that they're doing.
Is Joel McHale hosting this? Is Joel McHale hosting this episode too? This bonus episode.
I hope not.
Hopefully not.
I really hope not. That's
he's just on Zoom with MJ.
It was so unnatural and so awkward when he did it.
His camera was just up so high.
Yeah, it made no sense.
He was like tucked in the corner of the room too.
Episode 11 going to be about how awful of an owner he is at evaluating talent and creating a viable NBA roster, because I don't think people want to see that. Sorry. I got deep there.
You said it with your chest.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'll back up again. Making Bays uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable for me.
That's hilarious.
So I don't have such large pecs that I just fill the whole screen Bays like you do. You know, I got to kind of like shrink in to look big.
I've been cutting. I've been losing weight. I'm a lot skinnier now. I'm trying to see a little bit of abs now. It's kind of fun. I'm under 220.
Nice. I've had skinny abs my whole life. I've never worked for them my whole life.
I had legit abs in high school, but now they're just skinny abs.
Sure. I can see that.
Miske, you were ripped for a little bit though when you were working out with me for like those 3 months. You got kind of ripped at the end of those 3 months.
I think we have different definitions of ripped, Beza.
You gained some size. You gained some good size.
I was up to 130. I was really pushing the scales.
You were just saying you were
compared
around
to
130 right
115?
now.
Well, yeah, I went back down, but now I'm back up to 130. Been working out a little bit again.
Good.
Hey, you got that wiry
Yeah,
frame. It's probably easy to add muscle to.
A little muscle goes a long way on this body.
Right, exactly.
So there's so many episodes. I'm not sure. Should we just start like with initial thoughts? Like, should we work through episodes, or where do you guys want to start? Like, we're open to whatever.
Initial thoughts. Everyone go. Say your initial thoughts at the same time.
Everybody yell them. Jesse, you start. Initial thoughts on the doc.
I guess I never really realized like how just crazy he was, and just how like I had always heard like winning was above everything, but I never realized how like he needed to find something to hate about someone to motivate him, and just like the maniacal level he would take things to win. I didn't realize that or appreciate it until this doc.
Yeah, he was like a drug lord where in like movies where you'll just say something like, or like a mobster, like a mob boss, where you just say something offhand and he's like, oh really? So that's how it is. No, it's fine. And then he kills you like the next episode.
And it didn't even have to, it wasn't always like trash talk. It was just like someone said something that he took the wrong way and was like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, that's all it would take. Miske, go. Initial thoughts on the show.
Yeah, I got a few. So I think first of all, it was fun to watch it and be able to experience it kind of in real time in a sense. And that, yeah, I've heard about MJ and all these things, but I was born in 95 and all of us were born somewhere around then.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really get to watch MJ when he was playing other than Wizards years, which is not the same. So it was cool to see it and cool to experience it how the rest of the world was experiencing it, to really see why MJ was such a big star. Because I knew he was like a obviously fantastic player, but I never understood how he became this global icon. But after watching the documentary, it made a lot more sense. Picking up on what Jesse said, Wando and I were talking about this a little bit, but it was funny how crazy he was and how he would. There was one part in the documentary where he's like, "Oh yeah, I made that up. He never said that to me."
Right? Yeah.
Or the George Karl thing in the restaurant, where George Karl the night before the finals game in '96 didn't say hi to him in the restaurant. And Michael took offense to that. Where it was like, I'm thinking because it's MJ, if George Karl would have went up to him and said hi, he'd been like, can you believe this guy coming up to me the night before the game saying hi to me? I'm going to show him.
Yeah, he made eye contact with me the night before. That was all it needed. I took it personal. He said it was personal at that point so many times in the fucking documentary.
Yep.
Like over and over and over.
Yep. Or just like, that was all I needed. That was all I needed.
Yeah. With his crying eyes. Wando, what about you? I've never called you Wando, by the way. I feel like whenever we've met, I've always said Jacob, but can I call you Wando?
Of course.
Great.
It was a high school name, and then I didn't tell anybody at Bethel that Wando was a nickname, and somehow, I don't even know, someone on the freshman floor started calling me Wando, and I thought it was odd, and yeah, pretty much everyone calls me Wando, so feel free.
Okay, cool. Well, Wando, what are your initial thoughts on the last dance?
I knew a lot of the kind of Jordan mystique just from watching a lot of old NBA games on YouTube as a pastime. So like none of it was super like new to me, other than it was a little bit easier to experience what other people like were actually experiencing in the 90s. You could kind of feel it a little more. They did a good job of telling that story of what it was like. The most fascinating thing to me was that like he reached that point where most superstars or most like super teams, like everyone in the world wants them to fail. Like you want Tom Brady and the Patriots to fail unless you're from Boston or a Patriot fan. and you want like those dynasties to fail, but he like superseded that level of fame so much that like everyone wanted him to succeed unless he was playing against your team, which is just a whole nother level of like respect and insanity. And then the other thing, without how bad the Scottie Pippen thing got, like I didn't realize it was like that bad that he had like purposely like sat out at the beginning of the season. He had like essentially kind of sabotaged the team a little bit. Like he had complained that much for, you know, just reasons as far as he was concerned. But I didn't realize like they had basically almost traded Scottie Pippen and then the Sonics had backed out. Like I didn't know those kind of finer details, but yeah, that was interesting for sure.
Yeah, the Scottie Pippen stuff was crazy. I had no clue any of that was going on.
Neither did I. Yeah, that's crazy.
He kind of just continually got screwed. like even his pay, just over and over. Like, yeah, it was. Even the when wasn't the second episode of the series when they really started focusing on Scottie Pippen?
That
Second or third, yeah.
I think it was the second one, and I was like, that's really on the nose that people are like, he's the second best player, and they gave him the second episode. I was like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
He seemed like volatile though. Like he seemed like he would just like most of the time he would be there for you, and then randomly he would just go stone cold or something for like no apparent reason.
Yeah, he seemed super moody.
Definitely.
Also, his mom in the doc, she has the craziest laugh I've ever heard. Did you notice that? It was what she had a laugh like a crazy like Looney Tunes laugh. Like she was showing like a picture of her son, and when she like giggled, she's like 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 it sounded like a wild kitten. It was so scary. And it was like a tight shot too, so you felt like you couldn't escape her.
Ugh.
Yeah, it really made me uncomfortable.
Mike's parents were like super on top of everything. I was surprised about that too, just how like they helped him like navigate his career for like the first few years and like really just nailed all these, like the Nike meeting that they made him go to, and like I don't know, just like they seemed very on top of everything in a way I didn't know that they were, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy that he almost didn't even go to that thing. That's wild. Was he the first kind of major athlete that was signed to Nike? Because they were saying they had track shoes and stuff, but was he kind of the first big one?
He was the first like
mainstream basketball player, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, up to that point, Nike was mostly a company that was, you know, outfitting track and field runners, cross country runners.
It was Prefontaine was kind of the first big athlete on Nike. Was Steve Prefontaine. He kind of made that company with.
Yeah.
He ran.
They were calling it a startup in the doc, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's so
wild. It's all about the Converse. They all wore the high top Converse.
Yes.
That's right.
Which explains a lot about the athleticism of like the players. When you complain about the athleticism of the 60s and 70s, it's like, well, look at the shoes they were wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Jumping
like might as well
flat-footed.
Zion and with Converse.
Oh.
Every bone in his lower body would, they would shatter.
They're like shat.
Honestly.
He could barely handle Nikes too, apparently.
Yeah, really?
Blowing through like two of them.
He blew that one up.
That commercial where, was it Larry Bird who was rapping? Or it was like a rap commercial?
Yeah.
If you want to call it rap.
Cringe.
Yeah.
I mean.
So cringe.
Oh, that was awful.
It was no corn, no Chronocells. I know that.
I would say, was he a better rapper than Bezos? That's the question.
No. Come on now. I could take Bird any day.
On the mic.
You heard it here first. A Bezos versus Larry Bird freestyle rap battle.
I'll take Bird in a battle any day, anywhere.
You should drop like a diss track, like Post Up or something, like some basketball term, and have it be a diss track just about old Larry Bird. Get in the booth.
I'm gonna get in the booth tonight.
You heard it here. If you're a coward if you don't come on the podcast, Larry Bird.
Yeah, Larry.
Honestly.
Y'all ever hear from Xavier?
I'm sure he's one of the 20 people listening to this.
Yeah, Larry and your enormous nose. We dare you. Come on the pod. Explain
My
yourself.
sister kept saying
We'll go bar for
throughout
bar.
the documentary how much he looks like a bird. Actually, like the older he gets, the bigger his nose gets, and the more he looks like a bird.
I know. He kind of looks
Honestly.
like a parrot, like he's getting a beak.
He looks like a
It's
scarecrow,
so
honestly.
big. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Baze, what were your initial thoughts on the doc? What did you think of it?
I got a few. First thing, I think, I touched on this in our previous segment, but like Jordan is the greatest. I mean, I think after this, I used to think all LeBron might be the greatest, but no, it's Jordan. It's 100% Jordan. His work ethic, his work ethic was sociopathic. Let's just be honest about it. Like, if Jordan didn't find basketball, he might have been a sociopath killer. I 100% believe that. I think that's why he's struggling so much in life now, is because he has no outlet for his competitive nature. Number two, this kind of relates to that point, is like Jordan looks miserable. Like, I think he genuinely hates his life, retirement. Like, he does not look happy at all. His eyes are bloodshot. He has a full glass of whiskey and a cigar right next to him. Like, he doesn't look like a guy who is thriving,
Mm.
The other thing I took away from the documentary is how underrated Dennis Rodman was, and how he is probably one of my favorite people in history ever.
Wow.
Like, everything but Dennis Rodman, I was all in. It was, I mean,
Let's tap into that. Let's discuss why Dennis Rodman is one of your favorite people of all time.
Of all your favorite parts of Dennis Rodman, why is dating Madonna number one?
Right.
I mean, this guy, Madonna offered him $20 million to have his child, to have a child with him.
What?
$20 million. Yes, this is a real story.
Wow. That's insane.
And then he was dating Carmen Electra, and he was just banging girls left and right in front of her, and she didn't care. Like, in front of Carmen Electra. Like, what?
That's wild.
And then you see him. I absolutely love this scene where he's walking out in this crazy getup of an outfit. He's slamming a beer. He throws to the side, puts a cigar in his mouth, goes off on a motorcycle with no helmet on to Vegas. The GOAT.
So those are the reasons that he's your favorite person?
Is he not the most interesting character in the documentary?
I mean,
think about this too, and this is a little bit from Flagrant 2, but like, he was like the first like black man in America to like break stereotypes. He would wear makeup, he would wear crazy outfits, he would be, getting like lip piercings. He was, the straight gay guy.
Reading.
Was a book reading?
Could you imagine being? Yeah, could you imagine being a black man in America in the 90s doing that? I mean, now it started becoming a thing, 2010, 2020, whatever. But Rodman was doing all that crazy stunts back in the 90s. Back when, like, NWA and, all these hardcore rappers were out there. I would have dissed him, But everyone seemed to be okay with it, He was Tyler, the Creator, 20 years before Tyler was even around, So, I mean, to me, he's a very, very interesting character.
Yeah, it's craziest too that he was an athlete too, that he was a basketball player doing all this, that he wasn't like a movie star, like a singer or something. Because like Prince was around being flamboyant back then, but like for it to be a basketball player that's supposed to be like this cool macho dude, that was pretty nuts.
Not even just a basketball player. He's arguably the greatest rebounder and defensive player to ever live, or at least in that caliber. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, getting 20 rebounds a night was like not an off night. Was not like an amazing night for him. Like, he would just do that in regular.
And what's crazy too is
he's elite of the elite.
What's crazy too is how he came from Detroit, like being one of the bad boys, and then once he gets out of that is when he like totally changes his persona and his image into this like just complete 180 of a. It's just so crazy how he just changed like that, and how much more popular he got afterwards too.
And
he wanted money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, this is a flagrant two take, and I just want to expand on it a little bit. But in a weird way, I think Jordan kind of respected Rodman a little bit more than they did Pippen, because Rodman was the one that would be in the gym before Michael was. Rodman was the one who would leave the gym same time Michael would. You know what I mean? He would give 110% on the floor, throwing his body, whatever. He didn't care. He was always giving 110%. That's like when that bender in Vegas during the middle of the season, he was okay with that. He went and grabbed him. He said, "We gotta go back to practice." He said, "All right." If Pippen did that, I think Michael would have responded the same way. But I think Michael had different respect for Rodman than he did Pippen, which is why he let him go on that trip and came and got him and brought him back.
I would maybe contend that it was more that he knew he didn't have a choice, because without Rodman, they were in trouble more than it. You know what I mean? Like, I think he just let Rodman be Rodman, and it was, I need your basketball talent, so whatever we got to do to pull you in to like get 15 rebounds and guard Karl Malone and Sean Kemp, whatever you got to do to get there, we'll get you there, but we need you on the court. So
yeah, that's probably more so what it was, but I mean that's just my theory. But
And that's
I think he knew he couldn't contain Rodman, so we'll let him be him, and hopefully he's on the court when it matters most.
And that's why Phil Jackson is the greatest coach ever.
Yeah.
Because of the triangle offense. It's because he figured out how to manage personalities. Like Chicago, you got some crazy people. Jordan, according to Beza, is a sociopath killer.
He is.
You got Rodman. We all know about Rodman. You got Pippen, who's on
Rodman's a role model, according to
role model. Jordan the killer, Rodman the person you want to be like.
Yeah.
But you got Pippen, who has
fragile,
it seems like, every now and then. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to the Lakers, and he's got the whole Shaq and Kobe fiasco. But he won titles there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to read Phil Jackson's book. In his book, apparently he's not the kindest to Kobe in his leadership style compared to how he talked about Jordan. But I'm not sure the finer details of that yet. But
interesting.
When he was saying that there was a episode that was a lot about Phil, and there was at one point where he was like, I did a lot of, what was it, LSD or some, like, a lot of drugs.
Yeah, they skipped over, it was like a 2-second blip, but they like skipped over it. I was like, whoa, I want to know about this.
But that blip really explained, it's like when you find out something about someone that ties everything together. It's like, that's what it was. He did a ton of drugs. He had some spiritual experiences on some crazy substances, and now he's like a super patient Zen Buddhist coach of like arguably the greatest team ever. Like, that's what it was. Yeah. What was it? Was it LSD? I forget what it was that they said he did.
Yeah,
I think it was. I think so.
DMT or something.
And they don't get into it in the documentary, but I'm reading a book about the Bulls dynasty, and it talks, like, there's a whole chapter about Phil, and like he came from like a very, very, very strict Catholic family. And like he'd go home, and it's like, all right, Phil, now like your chance to ask for forgiveness and finally go to heaven when you die. And it was very cringy for him, and that pushed him into all the different like exploring different religious beliefs and all this. Like, it's definitely an interesting path that he took to become as open and kind of free as he is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There were clips of him like leading the team in stretches and breathing exercises and stuff. Do you think that you could do that in the NBA now, and like the superstars would participate in that, or do you think that wouldn't happen?
He did that with the Lakers. I've heard Kobe on like some Tonight Show talk about how they would do yoga and like breathing exercises during their like run during the 2000s.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's different now, but he was doing it with the Lakers. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't know if like the coach doing it would be depends on. I can't imagine like Tom Thibodeau like getting down and all right.
Oh my gosh.
You know, that'd be gross. But
his whole face getting so red, like purple.
Yeah. But they do incorporate a ton more like stretching and like yoga like exercises than they ever used to, just because it's that kind of thing is healthy for a lot of basketball players. It's good for their athletic ability. So that aspect, like I said, I don't know, coaches are doing it.
Yeah.
the trainers are,
there's proven benefits to like meditation with regards to like focus and everything too, which would obviously help as a athlete,
for sure.
So.
There's lots of studies on that.
Yeah,
totally. One thing I was thinking watching the doc was like, it's really hard to have a conversation about like who's the GOAT, partly because the training and like nutrition and the way that we've taken care of the athletes at different stages of the game. Like if you compare the technology that goes into LeBron James's body versus Michael Jordan's body, or let alone anything far like whatever happened to Magic Johnson's body or like Larry Bird's, it's like
we know what happened to
worlds
Magic
different.
Johnson's body.
Well, that maybe not the best example. But besides that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how could you compare that? Like LeBron is like incredible technology and like a team around him and so much more, like so many more years of people like training him and stuff, I don't know. What do you guys think
And
about
Jordan
that?
was only a few years removed from when they would like smoke cigarettes at halftime.
Yeah.
I know. That was so funny when he brought that up on the doc.
Jordan didn't start lifting weights until the 90s.
That's what I'm saying.
LeBron's been lifting since he came out of the womb.
Yes.
Probably not true. Like there's AAU kids lifting all the time. So
yeah. Like Rodman, like just skipping practices just for binge drinking and stuff. It's like, I don't know if you could compete and keep up with other athletes if you're doing that nowadays,
Right.
I don't know if you can handle that. Like just being like raw athlete and talent and stuff, that's not going to get you where you need to be now.
Yeah, I mean,
or your
from
career
a
just
strength
isn't going to
conditioning,
last.
Right.
Yeah, from like a strength coach perspective, it's like if they had all the technology, if they had all like the new like science and like data like that we had today, and they brought it to the 90s with those athletes, I think those athletes in the 90s would have been even crazier and even more, bigger than life than they were back then. Even if something just as simple as the shoes that they were using back then compared to now, like the biggest difference,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's an impossible, obviously, thing to prove, but like certain players that were in the 80s and 70s that were on NBA teams just out of natural ability, like some of them wouldn't be on NBA rosters in today's world, but with Michael Jordan's work ethic and his determination, if you just picked him up and then plopped him as his rookie year, like if you want to compare it to LeBron, like in 04, like he would be an elite 3-point shooter. He would be physically like the best athlete in the entire league. Like you have to trust that those elite players, when given the same opportunity that current players have in terms of all the benefits of the science and the health and the physical, capabilities, like they would have adapted. Like, because people are like, oh, Michael Jordan wasn't a great 3-point shooter. That's because no one was. No one shot threes. Threes were invented when he joined the league. Like, no one was practicing 3-point shooting. If he came up growing up where like that was just part of the game, like you're telling me Jordan wouldn't have figured out how to be a good 3-point shooter. Like, he bought a ping pong table because he lost once and became the best ping pong player on the team. The guy had a psychosis with, he was psychotic about being the best at whatever he was doing,
That's kind of what I'm saying, though, is it can start to get messy, though, because like if you even think about like longevity in the league or like how many points you get throughout your career, like those things are affected by how strong your body is. And I feel like that's when it starts to get really tricky when you compare decades apart athletes,
Mm-hmm.
Well, you look at Kareem, though, who played before, and he played 19, 20 seasons, one of those two numbers. And he was obviously elite, so you could have done it too. So
he was guarding people like as tall as me, like with the physical prowess of me. That's absurd.
Yeah, he's guarding doughy white guys.
Exactly. That's preposterous.
Yeah, it's like
he could have.
It's like, yeah, he has 11 rings, but I mean, they're against 5'8" Jewish people,
Exactly.
And Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, right, exactly.
It was really funny watching him when he played against the Celtics, and like it was all of these like executives and coaches in today's NBA, like Rick Carlisle, Danny Ainge, Bill Walton, Larry Bird, like all these just like white, technically sound players who like just aren't athletic and didn't look like they took care of themselves, and it's just so funny comparing that to the Celtics of today, or just the NBA of today.
Yeah,
for sure. So I have a two-part question. So for the doc pretty much starts by kind of vilifying Jerry Krause, the GM of the Bulls. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? And do you think, like I do, that he looks like Mike Wazowski?
I'll start with part two.
Well, now I do.
now that you said it, yeah.
Part one, I
Yeah.
thought the Gary Krause stuff was by far the most interesting part of the documentary. At the end, Scottie Pippen even, I think, called him the greatest GM of all time, or at least alluded to that. So Scottie Pippen, who had the most contentious relationship with the guy, even gave him respect. So I think Jerry Krause is one of those guys who was technically so good at his job, but just did not have the people skills to always make it work super well.
Mm-hmm.
His desire to be recognized and attributed, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically be, he wanted the recognition for what he had done, and no one was ever going to give it to him as long as Michael Jordan was there.
That was so crazy to me that not one person in the doc ever gave it up to him. It was like there was always just like head banging each other. Like they just never like could give each other credit. Like it was either the association or the players were getting the credit.
And he wasn't like a nice dude, and like they obviously talked about, like he was on the team buses, and like he wanted to be, it's almost like he wanted to be friends with them all so much that it just kind of ruined like the professional relationship that in distance they should have had. Like he kind of doomed himself a little bit that way, where like he egged him on by being overreaching and everything. But it was unfortunate that he had passed away a couple of years ago and couldn't at least like comment on everything, because it's hard to really analyze the truth when like the subject has passed away, and you just have kind of the secondhand stories from everyone, and obviously none of them are taking his side, like, which I wouldn't blame them. Like, why would you take his side if you were on the other side? Like they're not going to say Krause was a noble and he deserved more credit than he got. Like, they're just not going to say that.
Did he die on the scare floor after touching like a human?
Oh,
They're actually making a documentary about him. They're
They are?
coming out with one in like 2 years, like a year or something like that. Yeah, they're making one
about Krause?
Yeah.
Do you think he would have been successful in rebuilding the team if Reinsdorf would have let him? Because like
No.
Reinsdorf made the Last Dance happen, right, in the 97-98 season, where Krause wanted to trade Pippen and start moving pieces. So Jacob, you're saying no?
No, because I think as good as he was at evaluating talent, like you also just have to be super lucky. He got lucky that Michael Jordan fell to 3. He got lucky that he happened to see Scottie Pippen, who was playing at like the tiniest D1 school, and he just happened to blossom. And you know what I mean? Like there's so much luck involved. Like I don't think any GM could hit on 2 dynasties like that without just being the luckiest person in sports, if that makes sense.
Right.
I mean, if you're a good GM, you're always looking for talent and on the move and everything.
Sure.
I knew about Tony Kukoc too, so.
Yep, and maybe it's an unfair standard to hold him to, like, because I'm thinking about it like 6 championships and like the Jordan dynasty. Like, okay, that's probably an unfair standard to like ever try to reach again. Obviously, like there's a reason that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but so my question is, would he have won like one championship in the next like 5 years, and then had the Bulls not be a terrible team for the following 20?
I mean, I'd have to look at all the moves he made, but like he drafted Elton Brand and then traded him right away, who ended up being like a great player, and the players he got back in that trade were like worthless. And he made some other moves like right after that did not pan out, so it's hard to. But I don't know. It's hard to tell.
They weren't competitive until they got Derrick Rose again. So yeah, that was like what, a 20-year gap. He didn't do much after the fact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell you when he. I don't even know when he stopped being GM. Like off the top of my head, I don't remember. 3. So he didn't even last much, and he got a first overall pick in Brand, traded a few more picks, and they sucked, and that was that.
Do you think he was being self-destructive with wanting to trade away certain people or not sign, or do you think it was just him being like a competitive GM? Because the way they painted it seemed like he was jealous and trying to like stick it to the team. But then it also seemed like, well, your job is to make the team good, and they're clearly great. So seems like destructive.
I feel like it's almost like what Bill Belichick is trying to prove, that like if he's the one constant in the franchise, that he can win no matter like who's like on the team or what pieces are around him. Like I think that was almost what he was maybe trying to do with blowing up the team, was like, I can blow up this dynasty and then rebuild it into something else, you know, without these players. That was what I was taking away from it, at least.
Sure.
And the hardest part for that 98 team, like if they wanted to come back in 99, the only player that really would have been back most likely was Jordan, because Rodman was like 34, 35 years old, and he was still useful, but he was not worth what he was going to be paid, and he fell off. Like, I mean, he was done after the Bulls. Harper was done after the Bulls. You know, it's like Steve Kerr had his best years in his past, and so the only chance Jordan could have came back, and obviously you always have a chance as long as you have Jordan. But Pippen was going to look for that payday, so you would have had to try to convince him to not take, because he took like $50 million over a couple of years with like the Blazers or Rockets, which was his first. I don't remember which. Doesn't really matter. But so he got paid. So it would have been Jordan and a bunch of scrubs. And so it's really interesting to, like, I don't blame Krause in that respect, that his team was really old. And other than Jordan, it was honestly a lot of really diminishing pieces. And it's kind of amazing that they even won in 98 just because of Jordan's basically will to win them a championship. So yeah. I don't blame Krause that, seeing like all these aging pieces with diminishing value, to say, let's mix it up, and if we want a longer term success, we have to kind of blow it up. But what he underestimated was having Jordan makes you a viable championship contender probably until he's like 38 years old. You know, right. Like that's what's crazy, is like it didn't matter that their crunch time lineup would have like guys like Judd Buchler and Steve Kerr and the guy that he hated, I forget his name now, that played for one season, that shoot, what's the UConn guy that he just hated. Like that guy was in the prime.
Was it
Horace
Scott?
Something?
Horace Grant.
Scott Burrell.
Nice
job, Jesse. He played one season and was like out there on the NBA finals, like getting valuable minutes next to Michael Jordan. Like their team was honestly pretty, I don't say bad, but compared to it was shallow. Like compared to other teams, like other teams were definitely deeper. They just had Jordan's willpower.
Yeah, and in Game 6 when Scotty's out, didn't Michael score more than the entire team? Like, didn't he have 45 and they had 42 or something?
And they knew that. Like, that was the plan. Like, they talked, like, Phil and Jordan, like, it's like, hey, we're only going to win if we go as slow as we can, and Jordan scores half our points. And hopefully Tony Kukoc drops in, like, 15. Like, that's the only chance we have.
Right. Crazy.
Like when LeBron, in some of those Cavs years, just had to go.
Right.
He's out there with a bunch of scrubs. It's
all right. If we get 10 points from Daniel Gibson, we have a chance.
Come on, Gibson.
Come on, Zadrinas Zagauskas. Come on.
We got a lot riding on this one.
So it's actually a good launching point for a question I had. So I think all of us in here agree that Jordan's the GOAT. Yes? More or less?
I'm not sure. I lean toward
I don't know.
Yes.
I think Kareem's the GOAT. I think you can apply some of the same arguments about Michael, about the training and things. Kareem, I like to think about it as the basketball GOAT instead of just the NBA GOAT. If you include like all of his basketball career, like dude dominated in college. Freshmen weren't allowed to play at UCLA, so his freshman team beat the varsity team at UCLA. By the way, that UCLA team was the national champions, so it's not like he was beating a bad team. Like his freshman team beat the national champions. So he was just, and then 19 or 20 seasons of just absolute dominance, all-time leading scorer, all those things. I mean, that opinion's probably wrong and biased as a clear Bucks fan here, but
it's not like obviously a crazy take. He's a top fiver no matter who you're talking to. So like you could argue anyone, and there's kind of a consensus of guys that you can at least make a case for, and he's definitely one of them.
Let's go through. Let's do the top 3 for each person. Let's so we can compare. Jess, you start. What are your top 3 favorite players, or the best, I guess?
I don't know. I think
for the GOAT.
I think the top 3 is kind of who everyone says: LeBron, MJ, Kobe, and I would put them in that order probably. I still think LeBron is the top dog, just because he's had all his success without the consistency in like his team, his staff that Jordan had. Like that's one thing this doc kind of showed me is like Jordan had like the same coaches, the franchise totally around him. That LeBron had to, it shifted around for him so much, and he's still been able to win despite that. And like, I don't know, one thing Michael kept saying in the doc was how he like needed Scottie, he needed Dennis, he needed like some pieces around him to help him be successful. And that's something that people knock LeBron for, is that he was saying he needed help a few seasons ago, and that he needs like to go to a team like the Heat where he has pieces that can help him win a championship. And that's like a knock against him for some reason. So I don't know. Yeah. I think LeBron, just career to career, I think he has a more impressive career in my mind right now.
I'm with you. I would do LeBron, MJ, Kobe in that order for my.
I think the mindsets are totally different, and that Jordan was definitely more win first focused. But I don't know. I think there's something to be said about LeBron's career still.
Jess, you might convince me. I'm not gonna lie. For me, I don't have like a top 3, but I have like a top 5, 6. You can kind of put them anywhere. So obviously MJ. Even though I hate him,
I'm so excited to hear the rest of these players.
Bill Walton's
so
going to be
MJ, Kobe, LeBron,
Bill Russell,
Kareem, Wilt, and then like I think number 6, but I think he should 6 and 7 who should be in the conversation though for top. Magic Johnson and then Bill Russell. To me, I'm not sure where I go from. I mean, 11 chips, man.
I'm honestly very impressed.
I know. I mean, like, yes, I know it was like back in the day when like it was literally all like 5, 6 white boys from like Manhattan, but like 11, come on. I mean, the trophy's named after him for a reason. You know, the NBA Finals trophy.
There was like 13 teams though. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I understand
it is hard,
but like the same thing was the same thing for Wilt. Though.
It's hard to give it up for him.
Like Wilt was in the same position too. Like
and
he got
101.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So my favorite like Bill Russell story is that like he would let Wilt score because he knew that Wilt would become more selfish and not involve his teammates, and like the Celtics would always win as long as Wilt was getting his. So like he would literally just obviously not let him score, but like he would let Wilt get his to keep Wilt's focus on himself so that his teammates would just be zoned out and not into the game. And then Bill was the ultimate, like, that's what, I mean, Bill Russell is the ultimate teammate of potentially NBA history. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever just been like a more gracious, like, person in figuring out how the concept of a team works and being a leader that way and like doing whatever they needed to do. Like,
yeah.
If you're comparing skill to skill, it gets really difficult.
There was a season where Wilt averaged 50 points per game.
I know, yeah.
Oscar averaged a triple-double.
Yes.
And Bill Russell,
won MVP.
That's nothing like that, was the MVP because everyone just recognized that the dude was just that much better at leading a team to being successful.
He averaged like 19 points and like 20 rebounds, and he was the MVP. Voted, and that time it was only voted by other NBA players, and they all, voted that he was the most impactful, most important player. So it's interesting.
Wando, who would you say are your top 3 for the argument of GOAT?
I laugh at your guys' Kobe admiration.
I don't like him as a player. Like I hate him watching him grow up, but like
I don't even mean
respect the 5 rings. I have to respect what he did in the court.
Yeah, I mean he was a Jordan light, and that's like what his goal was to be Jordan without being Jordan. But he's top 3's kind of tough depending on what you're looking at. But I would go, it's Jordan, LeBron, and Kareem would probably be my three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Miske, what about you?
Kareem 1, 2 Jordan, and then 3 LeBron. Kind of what Jess was saying with LeBron. I think his winning a championship in Cleveland should count for like 4 titles. So he's pretty much
Right.
tied with Jordan because no one wins titles in Cleveland. Jim Brown won titles in Cleveland, but that's it.
It was 3-1 against the best, basically one of the best teams in like NBA history. Like,
And with scrubs on his team, absolute scrubs.
Yeah. Who other than Kyrie? Who do you have? Kevin Love.
Kevin Love.
Like,
Mm.
yeah.
Like, Kevin Love was like
Totally.
broken 2 of those finals, or both of those finals he was in.
The thing about Kobe, though, that I find interesting is that Kobe's the only guy, I think, like Michael, there's this mythos around. I don't think there's this mythos around LeBron. There's not really a mythos around Kareem or Bill Russell or these guys. They were just players. But something about Michael and Kobe is that they're like these superheroes. They can do anything, and you just expect them to. There's like Michael just decides he's going to score the most threes in a finals game because people said Clyde Drexler was a better three-point shooter than him. And he just did it. Kobe scores 60 in his final game just because he's Kobe, and he can do it. Like, there's this mythos around them, which I think really elevates both of them in people's minds, which I think is fair that it does. But I don't know if that actually means they're better basketball players.
That's fair.
Well,
That's a fair assessment.
Think about what we do to this day. When we come up a piece of paper, throw it in a trash can.
Kobe.
Legacy.
I mean, yeah.
Jesse, you say legacy when you throw
That's his legacy. Yeah.
legacy.
Yeah, that's what he's remembered for.
Yeah.
the case for Jordan is that there was a long period of time where he was the best scoring option and the best defender in the league and the hardest working player in the league. And LeBron has been, probably flirted with that, but no one has ever been that level where such an amazing offensive player, he'd go get a bucket on you, and then you can come down and he's going to guard your best player and stop him.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he is just such another level. And so I was kind of talking to Miske about it when we were waiting for Beza in the half-hour wait from 7 to 7:30 classic, where Jordan definitely had the peak that was like higher than James will ever reach. So it depends if you value that peak of 6 of the 6 of the 8 years, that little peak. I mean, not little is a long peak, but that 6-year peak of just being the best player the league had ever seen, or you value LeBron's just like 20 years of just greatness. Because there's no doubt, like but he's never quite reached that Jordan peak. But he's definitely going to achieve more stats, more points, more rebounds, more. So he's going to achieve better stats because he's going to, with all the kind of health benefits that we were talking about earlier, like he's going to have a 20-year career where every year he was on your team, you had a chance to make the finals. Where Jordan kind of had a 8-9 year run. Because you have to count the late 80s when they lost to the Pistons. Like, they made the Eastern Conference Finals. They were in the mix. So if you compare that 9 years of greatness versus James's 20 years of just like slightly less greatness. You know what I mean? Like on a per year basis.
Yeah.
So it's kind of depends what you value that way.
For sure. That's a really good point.
With LeBron, it's insane too that he never gets hurt. Like, he had the injury last year. But that's it. That's the only injury, really, of his entire career. Mm-hmm. And, like, Michael barely got injured, too, but Michael's body makes sense that he wouldn't get injured. Like, look at LeBron. Like, how does that guy not get injured?
Nuts.
How does he have knees?
Mm-hmm. It's like if you 3D printed a superhero, LeBron James would come out.
Mm-hmm. Well, his ways fluctuate over the years, like, so much. Like, he was, like, 235, 240 coming in. And playing in Miami, he was like 255, 260. And then when he went to the Lakers, he dropped back down to like 245, 250. So like his weight, his body fat percentage has gone up and down throughout the years, but he's never like lost a step through it all.
Yeah, that's the craziest part. It's his longevity.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you this: Jordan never would have gotten stopped by Rajon Rondo in the playoffs. Like, That would never have happened.
That's a
LeBron saw Rondo guarding.
Rage
Like,
on him.
I'm just gonna keep shooting and just prick.
That's hilarious.
It's a great point. Is there anything you think that LeBron could do with the time he has left in the league to surpass MJ, or do you think it won't ever happen in your mind?
I mean, if he goes on a 2 or 3 year title run with LA, I think it's his.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think the people who
No, that's
ride or
good.
die for MJ at this point aren't ever going to be convinced unless he wins like 10 more rings somehow.
The likelihood of him winning 2 or 3 more, in my opinion, is extremely low. I think MJ is always going to be ahead of Michael, but I'm not going to say it's impossible.
Sure.
I would agree.
I will say all the 90s players love to say Michael's the greatest, though, but it's like you got to realize they have a vested interest in saying this, right? Reggie Miller has a vested interest in saying that Michael's the best player ever, because then it's like, okay, I lost to the best player ever.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. All the players being like, yeah, I was the only player who just didn't back down when MJ started talking trash. Like, I was like the one guy who really stood up to him. Like, I think that's why he respected me. Like, go fuck yourself.